now call to order the City of Lafayette Mayor Council meeting to order. We did an invocation at the beginning of the work session, so we'll just move forward with a roll call at this time.
Councilmember McCurdy, Councilmember Thomas, Councilmember Ellis, here. Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Blacksman,
Here.
Mayor Moody.
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the reading of the minutes from October 28th?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. We have with us Ms. Nell Finley. We'll invite you up to the podium. I think you have some remarks that you'd like to make concerning the declaration.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Council.
Then,
Again, you know, I'm Nell Finley, and on October 24th, I submitted a letter to the Mayor Council requesting a place on the agenda to discuss issues and concerns as related to the operation of the board about Parks and Rec Youth League. I was appointed by Councilwoman Blacksman, and I'd like to say to her thank you for that, and thank each of you for accepting that appointment and allowing me to serve on it. When I came on the board with valid issues with being able to meet all the requirements to maintain membership that required them to become and remain in the East Alabama Youth League. The board met and discussed all options and agreed to seek other leagues that would allow our youth the opportunity to compete. Chairman Kerry Toads presented guidelines from the Central Alabama Youth Football League. We made all the necessary arrangements to get into the league. We are happy to say that our coaches and our youth competed well. All teams except one went undefeated, and that one team lost only one game and had to forfeit the other game. On October 26th, the Lafayette Parks and Recs Board hosted the first round of the playoff. The second round of the playoff was held this past weekend, and two of our teams are headed to the championship. And I believe that's the 5 and 6-year-old and 11 and 12-year-olds will be playing in the championship game this coming weekend in Ladonia. We commend our coaches and our youth, but that is not why we're here tonight. Because I hope that you will do a more formal recommendation or commendation to honor them in the work that they've done for their efforts. We're here tonight because we feel that more work and more support is needed. Inasmuch as we have benefited from the league change, this board does not have a clear understanding of what we are required to do as a Parks and Recreation Board. According to your ordinance, number 317, and if you don't have a copy with you, probably got to bring copies tonight. We want to talk to you about the ordinance and get you to help us to understand what it is required of us as the Parks and Recreation Board. Your ordinance was approved and adopted by Mayor and Council on April the 23rd, 1990. Signed by the late Mayor Ed Allen and the former City Clerk Pete Gardner. Unless there is an amended copy, we are not operating according to your ordinance. So we're here tonight to get an understanding from you of what it is that you expect us to do according to your ordinance. According to your ordinance, it does not say that we have to be the ones to go out there and collect money from our teams. It's not our job to find coaches. It's not our jobs to do any of that. So I want to look at the ordinance with you tonight, and if tonight is not the time for you to give us an answer, we hope that you will consider the ordinance that you put in place, or tell us if there is an amendment to those ordinances. The other question is, we have rules and bylaws that were drawn up for the Lafayette Youth League that has rules and regulations for a board of directors. Who are we that you appointed from each one of the districts? Are we operating according to the ordinance? Or are we supposed to be doing what the ordinance states? Or are we supposed to be operating on the government of what somebody else wrote up according to the youth league? As I look at the Parks and Recs ordinance that you set up in 1990, the future of the Park and Rec Youth League stands and hinges on what you tell us that we are about and what we can do according to the ordinance. If you look at ordinance, in the ordinance on section 4, which you all like to have a copy?
Yes.
Yes, please. When we look at section 4 of that ordinance, it says the recreation board shall be responsible for the direction, supervision, and promotion of such recreation programs, as well as will contribute to the general welfare of the residents of the city. The board shall have control over all land, buildings, equipment, and other facilities assigned for recreation purposes to the board by the governing body of purchase of land or lease by it from the funds provided by the governing body. And the board shall cooperate with other land agencies, local agencies, and state and federal agencies for the purpose of maintaining and improving recreational services and facilities for the city. The board shall have power to accept financial and other aid and grants from any public or private agency. I brought that to your attention because of the fact that you're working on providing 52 acres of park and recreation that's being developed. According to that, does that not say that this board is supposed to be part of governing the land, the property that you're working on with 52 acres? All of us have full-time jobs and some of us have second jobs. If that is what we're supposed to be doing, how can we successfully govern our youth league? When we look at section 8 of that, it says that the recreation board may employ a municipal director of recreation to be its executive officer. The director, with the approval of the board, and I'm assuming that that would be the board that you all have appointed, shall employ such staff as may be necessary to effect the recreation program determined by the board. The salary of the director and staff shall be fixed by the board. The tenure of the director and the staff shall be at the pleasure of the board. When we look down at section 9, it says the recreation board shall adopt rules and regulations covering the procedures of the board and use of the land, the buildings, the equipment, and other facilities under its jurisdiction. If that is the case, and this board is going to be required according to your ordinance, we make a recommendation tonight that a municipal director of recreation be hired to take on the responsibilities that you're putting on the chairman of our board of directors, who does not have the time in his day to make sure coaches are available, to make sure coaches have equipment, to make sure that, now we know that right now, we are out there making sure that the fields are lined up. We're making sure that we got coaches available. We also make a recommendation that when our parents come to register their children to play youth ball, youth league, right now, we need to be getting set up for them to play basketball. We don't have the time in our 8-hour day of working a full-time job to make sure that that is available. There should be something in place here at City Hall where our parents can come and register their children, that money be received through City Council, through the city. We should not have to be responsible for handling that money. It is not our responsibility to collect money, to be responsible for money. If we had a Parks and Rec director in place that could handle the day-to-day operations, I feel like this board can be more capable of doing what your ordinance asks for it to do. If your board is not going to operate according to the ordinance, we need to have whatever your new rules are so that we will know what it is required of this board. Any questions? questions, any comments from me, because I feel like I dedicated myself to it when I was asked to serve, and I never do anything that I would give it 110%.
Well, being the chairman of the program, I would like to say a few words. First of all, I agree 120% with you, Ms. Finley. We do need a park and rec director, but I would like to commend the one who have made this program a success thus far. I mentioned the need of a park and rec director several times, but before taking the next step, I think we need to hear from the city manager, Louis Davis, regarding our financial aspects of how we can provide financial pay and all of that for our rec director. I'm not disagreeing with you, because we definitely need one. I know the work. I'll be out there with y'all guys. I know what y'all go through.
I mean, we have, before he does that, I don't know how all this came about before I became a part of the board. I know that there's a young man that said he's the president of the board. And I'm not saying anything slighting him, because he's doing what he can do to make sure the day-to-day operations are happening. But my knowledge of a board is that you cannot serve as president of the board if you're not a part of the board. My understanding that the 5 people that serve on the board are those 5 people that were appointed by councils of each district. It does outline here what the board can do as far as appointing additional people to serve. So if that be the case, then we need to meet as a board based on your ordinance and assign some duties, but we do still need someone that's going to operate, that will have access to equipment when it's needed. We can't take up our job in the middle of the day to make sure a coach has the equipment that they need. I work in Lee County. I live here, love living here, but I have to go to Lee County to work. I can't come up here and allow them to get equipment out of the equipment room. So we need somebody. And I ask that you consider looking at whatever your finances is, even if it's on a part-time basis, that somebody is there to oversee, that we can move forward with our Parks and Recreation League. Our youth are doing wonderfully. If we don't provide for them the necessary equipment, people to run and manage our program, it's going to fail. I don't want it to fail. I struggled hard to keep it from, a lot of the parents didn't know whether we were going to get to play. We, the board, didn't know whether we were going to get to play or not, because we had a lot of negative comments about us leaving the league that we were in, but it has benefited us tremendously to be where we are. This board cannot function without the support of this mayor council. We can go out there and say what we're going to do, but if you don't support us in what we're doing, it's not going to work. So if there's some changes to your ordinance, you need to tell us what they are.
Now, for the ordinance, Ms. Nell, I think that the city attorney can probably go into details about that, specifying and explaining it to us.
And let me say this. What you brought is your request to the mayor and council. There's steps that are going to need to take place. Some of it is going to be the ones that have been appointed from each district to meet with the recreation committee to be specific, as you have tonight, on any of the concerns that you have. And then the recreation committee, in which we have different committees that are in place, we bring a recommendation to the council, for a vote. And at that point in time, if it was regarding a part-time person, there would be looking at salaries, times, requirements, the number of hours, that they would take. So I take this myself as a starting point tonight to move forward, because we appreciate what y'all have done, but we've also had a lot in the past through the years that have done a lot also. So at any time you can make any type of improvement, I'm not going to go out on a limb. I think any of us would be for that. We just have to be specific as to how the ordinance would be changed, what the wording would be, what we want to put in place, a recommendation from the Recreation Committee. And I think we can move forward, and it may be even a work session between Recreation Committee and members that have been placed from each district right there to begin to formulate a plan to come back to us. Would that be correct?
I have a question.
Can I?
Have a second. Councilman Thomas just stated that he made their recommendation for a Parks and Rec, director. So their recommendation has been made to the mayor and council. He stated he made the recommendation.
It had been discussed, you know, we have discussed it about how.
I'll tell you, this is my second term on the council, and I've been in favor of park and recreation directors ever since I've been here. Talked about it, talked about ways of making that money available. I mean, I said, you can't expect our kids to do good and compete with other kids, other cities and towns and stuff. Everybody's saying part-time. We find money for everything else up here, and we spend a lot of money over the years. That is very important, because those kids are our future. If we want to keep them out of jail, out of the streets, give them something constructive to do, let's stop making excuses and find the money. I mean, I've talked about a 1-cent sale tax. We got Sunday alcohol sale going. I mean, Lafayette is not going to prosper and move forward unless we take the bull by the horn and make it happen. Stop making excuses. I mean, because one thing that you go anywhere around the state, Lafayette is known for athletics. Academics, we got a lot of kids doing well in academics and all that, but athletics, we talk about Lafayette, it falls back on us. And we got to do what we need to do. We should have done it a long time ago. Stop making excuses. Let's get the job done.
And when I say that I go 110% above and beyond, I have researched every city around us.
And they got a park
And every city around us.
You can't make it.
They laughed at me when I told them that our board of directors has to do all the stuff.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot
So
of work.
if every city around us can find ways to have a Parks and Rec director, why not the city of Lafayette? All of us are here in the city, and I don't think there's anybody in this city that's not concerned. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have a child out there playing. But I am concerned about the children that are playing, because when my son played, we didn't have a league to play in, but we went out there on that pony league field, and we played by ages, and we had somebody that was directing that. We didn't have to do it as parents. We didn't have to have parents trying to figure out where to go to do this and where they need to go to do that. We need to be able to come to, if there is a board here that sits on this council, then they need to be meeting with us so that we can make recommendations. My understanding is, I think that we're supposed to be making recommendations. We are supposed to go out there, oversee the recreation, but not just the Little League and the youth, but for adults as well in this city. So we need to be able to try to find out that we can come to this board. If it's the Parks and Recreation Department, then we need to be able to meet with them and make our recommendation. So my plea to you tonight is that something happens going forward. If it's a sale tax or whatever it is, we need to be able to do it. And then again, the 52 acres that you got being developed out there, who's overseeing that right now? My understanding is that people go out there and have birthday parties. What's going to happen when two families go out there to try to have a birthday party and nobody's overseeing what's going on? You got a clear interest in it. Anybody can go in anytime they want to. And we don't have no control over nothing. There are 52 acres and the ordinance says that this board is supposed to be over the land. I'm not going to put myself on the line for somebody to go out there and get hurt over 52 acres and then legally they come back and say the board of directors of the Parks and Rec should have been doing this or that. So that, I went back and I did some history on that. You got an advisory board. What is the advisory board and the recreation board? Who is responsible for what on your 52 acres of land that's been developed? So those are questions that we would like to have answered for us. If it means a work session with whomever, if that's the answer that we get tonight, then we need to be able to come back. I have a lot of stuff and I know time is not going to permit me to say all I want to say.
Go ahead.
But
where we are tonight, you've brought something to our attention that needs to go through the Recreation Committee for a recommendation to the mayor and council. So there's some logistics and things as far as if there's any wording in the ordinance and changing and salary and specifics would be brought back from the committee to the mayor and council and allow us to move forward from there.
okay, so change the ordinance. If that includes us, then we need to know what we need to be doing.
No, what I'm saying. We can't answer tonight is what I'm saying. We have to work through our committee, and we'll be more than happy to do that.
Who's on the committee?
Myself, Chairman, Councilman Ellis, and Councilman McCurdy.
So you're the chairman of the Recreation Department.
There's 3 on the Recreation Committee, and that's the ones that would be met with, who would make a recommendation to the council.
So do you all have a copy of the league, that rules and bylaws that was written up when we was in the East Alabama League? Do you all have a copy of that? We need to do away with those, and they need to be rewritten to apply to what we're doing. So does this board have the right to redo that?
Mayor, those were developed, Kerry, correct me if I'm wrong, those were developed to be in that football league. Right. But the mayor and council never adopted these.
That was my exact question.
That's what I'm saying. Right. The mayor and council never adopted these. I think what happened was we needed bylaws to actually be part of that league, and these bylaws were developed, right, but it was never approved by the mayor and council.
I think on these, the name just had been changed from that league to our league.
And I'm not sure if y'all officially approved them in your recreation board. I mean, to be honest with you, one thing that I kind of want to clarify, I've only been here 10 years, but when I first started working here, the recreation board, which is you guys, didn't do any of the stuff that y'all are doing now.
That's
what has happened historically was you had parents who were involved in those programs that took the lead on the day-to-day of the baseball and on the football. And then people had issues with certain parents, and so they left, and then when other people took over, it quite frankly just didn't run as smooth as it did before. And then that's when people that were on the board who cared, and one thing I do want to mention, because I know you kind of said something about if you care. Everyone here cares. I know I work with Danny, I work with Mike, I work with Carrie, Charlene. I don't think I use that term. Everybody cares. Well, I mean, it was something about caring, but yeah, everyone definitely cares, and I know I work with them as best I can every year. I mean, if anybody says something different, I like to know it now, but I feel like I go out of my way to help because I love the Fed, even though I don't live here. I work here. I feel like I'm a part of the community. I want to see the kids do well. So with that said, yeah, a recreation director, that's something I know Councilman Ellis has brought up many times, Councilman Thomas has brought up many times. That's something that the council needs to look at in addition to all the other requests that have been made. As you all know, we've had a significant business to close down, which is going to affect our budget significantly. I'm not saying things can't be done. I'm just saying the mayor and council has to sit down and look at what can be done. Honestly, I'm not sure how many people are aware of the significance of the loss of Cardinals. But at some point, everyone is going to need to be aware because it's major. And I just want everyone to understand, I see the numbers. You know, you can call me, anybody want to come and talk to me any day, I'll talk to them. We can sit down and talk about numbers. Man, council needs to sit down and talk about numbers. But it's significant.
Mayor, if I can speak to one thing, Ms. Nell, I'll say this, I've been here a little longer than Lewis. In fact, Flack was my manager for many years when we played ball down in Avondale. But I will make a point about one of the historical things that Lewis was talking about. We always had the parents that managed things. But since I've been city attorney for I think longer than Lewis has been city clerk, I have not seen this board take as active a role as it has taken this year in the last couple of years.
I wouldn't know.
Well, what I'm saying is that things have been not done in an exacting manner for many years. It's actually very good to hear you raise these concerns. I will say that I think the first place that this needs to start, according to the ordinance, because Mr. Thomas asked me to speak to that, it says the board has the right, with the city's approval, to present a budget for its operations. So I think the first thing that would probably need to happen in your meeting with the committee is that you come up with a proposed budget, or you come up with an idea of what it is you need to budget. Because it's very important that they have a place to start, and then the city council will have something they can consider as budgetary concerns come up. Whether there's going to be money for that or not is a whole other issue. But I think the place that it starts is with that budget and with a presentation of what you want out of this council. And then I think this thing can start working more the way it's designed. And then if there needs to be some more control issues that need to be addressed, we can do that from a legal point of view. But I think your first thing to do, like the mayor said, meet with the committee, present your proposed budget of what you want. I'm sure they'll tell you, don't present the pie in the sky version. But present the proposal, of what you think you need to operate, and then see if they can find a way to make that happen. And like Lewis said, it's going to be hard, at least this fiscal year, because of what's fixing to happen. But that's a whole other issue, but I wanted to point out from a legal point of view, I think that's your starting point.
I appreciate you saying this. My last and final comment is I appreciate what you said about the board, because when I came on board and they was telling me all the things that they do, I'm like, what? There is no way. But, and I think they did what they did just because they wanted to make sure that the league didn't die. And I just want us to be able to function the way we need to function so that we can make it better than what it is. If we're going to come and have championship teams in our city, we need to be able to provide the coaches and the players what they need. Thank you all for the time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And you guys do need to know that everything that y'all do, and I tell y'all every day, that we really appreciate it, because y'all go above and beyond, and without you guys, the program could not exist. So again, we thank y'all for everything that y'all
So according to our order, do you have the leeway to go now? Bring back our recommendation as far as what we want to happen financially, put it in writing, and we'll go forward from there.
Yes.
Thank you for your concern, we appreciate it.
No problem.
And again, we're going to win two championships, first time in history, Recreation Board will win 2 championships.
Okay, that's great.
I'm gonna turn it over to,
What's his name?
we're gonna move forward right here with tries. I had the chief down right here, but you do have a recommendation to make on, Ice Car?
Yes, sir.
You make that recommendation to the council.
To the mayor and council, good evening. I'm seeking transfer of ownership at the Pace Car located on 5th Street South. Transfer of ownership to Mr. Chirag Patel. He has completed all the application process that is required by the city that he needed. Seeking that we grant permission to change the ownership.
Is that the store right here in the corner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor, have you done a background check on him, as according to the ordinance?
Captain Price, I will say, Mayor, I spoke with Chief on Friday regarding this and placing it on the agenda. And he told me himself that everything was in order, everything was taken care of, and he was gonna approve it because all stipulations were satisfied.
Okay, let's do this, if it'd be approved. Let's make a motion and approval, if we wanna make a motion to approve this based on everything being complete as required.
Well, the attorney asked about a background check, and what's the answer on that?
We need to make sure that's done.
Well, that's one of the requirements for us to know if that background check.
That's the reason it's just said it had been, not being specific to the background.
Well, that's very important.
Well, he can't approve it unless it's been
Unless
done.
it's done. Right.
Only thing I'm saying,
Well, that's no well one done. I mean, the proof that one was done.
I don't see none in here, Mayor, council. I don't see.
Well, I make a motion that we, at this meeting, we deny it until we get approved of that the background check has been done and completed thoroughly, according to the ordinance. I mean, that would be the right thing to do at this moment. Because we don't know whether it's been approved or not, actually.
there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Do we have any further concerns or questions or anything from any one of our council members?
Yes, I got to echo again on my pride, about rec league. Like I say, first time in history, man, that look like we might be looking at two of our teams winning a championship title. So that's a good thing, and it shows positivity, shows a great job by the coaches and staff and board members, and so we headed in the right direction. Thank you for all y'all doing good.
What time are the games on Saturday?
We played at 9.
9,
We played 12.
12. Okay, Ladonia. Appreciate it.
I want to go one step further right there. Do you, at least, should you win, and we're planning on winning, but
When you win.
when you win,
When you win.
would you please give a number of participants at each age to our recreation committee for consideration of rings?
Okay.
A specific number from y'all for each age group.
And I think we were looking at something as far as, doing something special for the kids. If we've done that, maybe, getting together and doing something special big for them.
And he's talking about eating. Involved. Something a little formal presentation.
That's all.
Or they could come up here one night
Yeah.
to a meeting for a presentation. Whatever would work, whatever recommendation you would have to us. Okay?
All right, Mayor, I'd like to take just a minute. We had a great trick or treat. We had over 100 kids that participated and parents, and I'm just so elated to think that we had that many. But I also want to thank Farmers and Merchants Bank for the flowers that they donated. Steve Wheeler with Alpha Insurance, who donated some pumpkins. Gator Kincaid, Gator Media for the wreath that's on the door in the new City Hall. Glenn Morgan, the pumpkin patch for pumpkins. Silman Seroy Funeral Home for the candy that they donated. And especially Chief Rampy and his department and the position that they played, helping the kids cross the street. And we could not have done it without the street supervisor, George Green. I really would like to thank him. Thank Councilman Thomas for being there, and our First Lady, Tammy Moody, giving out the candy, and of course you, Mayor, helping the kids cross the street with the police and all that, and the parents and the children that participated in the event. And also, Jody Stewart called me today with the Lafayette Sun and asked me, would I please remind everybody that the Lafayette Sun is going to be giving out turkeys again this year. Last year they gave out 13. So just watch your newspaper and look for the rules and all that. But thank you for the first trick or treat in Lafayette in a long time. Look forward to next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just like to say thank you to everybody. Not just the ones that were at City Hall, but we were directing traffic with the kids across the street right there, and we did have Masonic Lodge right there, and we had the Lafayette newspaper, and you had some businesses on the backside of the courthouse from the dentist office and F&M Bank. I think a little later on, the police department had some candy that they were passing out, and the fire departments. So it was a good bit going around. You had to walk a little bit, so maybe it was good exercise too. But maybe that being the first, it can grow, and we can go from there. But you got to have a starting point to move forward. Do we have any bills to pay?
Yes, Mayor, we have claims in the amount of $100,163.27.
I'll make a motion to pay our bills or that.
Not on it quick.
Really? Oh, yeah, we did have
We only had a
a
one-week meeting. We did have a motion and we did have a second. To pay the bills, all in favor say aye. The city's bills will be paid. We had an ordinance number 457, then we changed the cutoff date, and we did that because of the way Thanksgiving was going to fall on the actual cutoff date, and we didn't want anybody to be cut off from Thanksgiving to following Monday. So we did have the first reading last week, Mr. Attorney. Is it possible to vote on it tonight?
You had the first reading of it last week, so the proper procedure is that if someone makes a motion to approve the ordinance, then it will be adopted on the second reading, which makes an official ordinance if it's adopted tonight.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 457. Would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Thomas? Yes. Councilmember Ellis? Yes. Councilmember Blassinger?
Yes.
Mayor Moody?
Yes. We have one property to revisit. Could you bring that to our attention?
Yes, sir. This is a property down on Lafayette Street North, across from my brother's house. It was the one that Mr. Vines lived in. Tim Vines owned, and he sold it to Mr. Davenport. Been up here about 3 times. Mr. Davenport has maintained the outside of the property since he purchased the property. He has apparently, on several times we continued because he was going to see about getting prices for renovation. I'm looking at a report prepared by Officer Arwood. He's not with us apparently. And he said basically, I got that information from him. He has gotten an appraisal for the repairs, or an estimate for repairs of the house. And unfortunately the house is going to have to be torn down. Now he's getting prices for that. So I think at this point, basically, what he's saying is that he is trying to exercise his options now on actually demolishing the structure. So I think it would be appropriate to probably table it for 60 days to give him an opportunity to do that, just from what I read here. Which he's currently in the process of having the outside contractor demolish the house, or possibly have the fire department burn it, which I doubt we're going to burn it.
I did speak with Mr. Davenport, and he had told me the same thing, so this time I'd like to make a motion that we give him 60 more days, because he's been doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's been working with the city.
That's a motion to table it for 60 more days.
We have a motion and a second to table it for 60 more days. That is the property of Timothy Vines, I believe, is correct?
Well, that was who was assessed to the table.
Now, next change, okay? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? So, that would be the resolution, I think, correct? Okay? And we have one cemetery deed, number 1525, to convey to Thomas Nick Lane.
We have 2.
Is that? He removed one.
Oh,
He removed one.
I make a motion, we convey 1525.
Second.
Motion and a second to convey cemetery deed number 1525. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned. We thank you all for coming tonight.